Go ahead.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Kings and Generals podcast. We're on episode number 2. And today we'll be talking about Vegeta and how he is portrayed in Dragon Ball Super.
All right. So,
I think.
do we want to
So,
start from Battle of Gods or from Super directly?
let's start. Let's acknowledge the Battle of Gods movie. I liked the movie a lot more than the anime, even though the anime did a little bit more. I think Vegeta in Battle of Gods is actually really nice. I think how he was like. I like how he was kind of like nervous throughout the movie because Goku got beat in one shot by someone, and I think at the time that was like pretty revolutionary because I don't think Goku had really been like one shotted at that point. So in like Vegeta's perspective, that was like pretty horrifying.
Yeah, definitely not any scenario where Vegeta was present.
Yeah, because like, or that he wasn't because I. Yeah, actually, I think the whole Goku getting one tap started more in Super, which is whatever. But who cares about that right now?
I think technically Cooler was the first guy to body him in like one real hit, but to be fair, Goku was kind of in a state of shock when he even saw Cooler.
Yeah, and Vegeta wasn't even there to react to it. But
Definitely not.
Gods, I liked that like anxiety feel because it gave Vegeta a lot of pressure, right? Because he had to like prevent Earth from being blown up. And I think, like, he was doing a lot of out of character stuff in the movie that made the movie really memorable. Like the dancing bingo scene was probably one of my favorite like comedic moments with Vegeta, who never really had comedic moments.
What I love about that scene, not just how much it raised the internet into just this never-ending turf war, but that was actually a promo for the movie, like way before anyone even knew what the plot was gonna be. So right away, people were already ranting and raving about that.
That is awesome. I think Battle of Gods did really good with Vegeta. Obviously, he had to donate energy to Goku for Super Saiyan God, and then he took a back seat for the rest of the movie. But I think when it transitioned to ROF, I think Vegeta was really good in ROF. Especially in the anime. Because the anime, they had an added scene of him, like, convincing Whis to train him. And then Whis is like, oh, I'll do it if you become a God of Destruction. And, like, ROF Vegeta, like, I know ROF is a little rocky for some people, but I really liked Vegeta in ROF. I think he was amazing in that movie. But I'm not going to talk about him not getting the W or whatever. I don't care about that. I think, like, his beatdown to Frieza was so awesome for Vegeta fans. Like, this... That was, like, probably, like, one of the best moments for Vegeta in Super was when he just beat the shit out of Frieza.
I think so. And hey, from his perspective, that's the part he remembers before the jump back in time.
Oh, yeah, like, he was wailing on Frieza and Goku just Kamehamehas him. He has no idea why. But I don't, there's not much to talk about with ROF though, because ROF is a really fast story. It's like an insanely fast story, even by Dragon Ball standards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess let's just jump to Universe 6. I think Universe 6 arc for Vegeta is alright. He really shines with Kaba, and that's about it. The whole teaching a Saiyan to go Super Saiyan and then instilling that pride of the Saiyans into Kaba was pretty cool. But I think that's all I remember for Universe 6 that art, like, for Vegeta's character. Because I did go back and watch a lot of the highlight episodes for this, and I noticed, like, he was fodder to hit, but of course he is. But I think, like, looking back on the arc, that scene with Kaba is really overlooked. Or, like, I think a lot of people don't actually acknowledge that, like, Vegeta did an entire training sequence, like, mentor figure almost to a completely different Universe Saiyan.
See, I think that for Universe 6, I actually like that arc more than a lot of people do, because even though it was short and didn't really have any major stakes or consequences, it did give some good development to Vegeta, because starting off from his perspective, he sees another person of Frieza's race, a person who just cheated and basically screwed over Goku and Piccolo, He probably could have killed Frost if he would have went full power, because Frost was already injured pretty heavily at that point, but he just knocked him out quickly rather than do anything stupid. Then when he was fighting Vegeta, was that his name? Robot Man? I'm blanking on his name, but I think that was it. I know that there was that part where Vegeta was able to sort of sneak around him and knock him down, which would have knocked him out, but he survived by a technicality. That ticked him off because that isn't really the way he wants to win, but he still made it work. And then that was when we got in with Kaba, and that was kind of his moment of showing off what he could do and actually putting himself to the test. Because those two fights were trying to be like him winning on his terms, and now it's like he finally had a Saiyan that he could actually teach, whereas he never really had a chance to do that before, because Planet Vegeta was destroyed when he was like, what, 6 or 7 years old?
Yeah, when he was pretty young. I think, like, I wonder if Super will actually continue the plot line where they visit Universe 6 Saiyans. Maybe, I don't know. But I would love to see it, because, before we talk about the Tournament of Power, the Goku Black Arc is that ugly little mark we gotta acknowledge. Vegeta the Goku Black Arc was kind of weird. He felt more like a tag-along up until his rematch with Goku Black. I think once he did the hyperbolic time saver training and then came back super powered up and just schooled Black, like he just like completely insulted Black's entire existence and all of his ideals, you know. I think that was like maybe his best point in that arc, but like for the most of the arc he was kind of just standing around, and then he was just helped me fuse into Vegito, which was pretty hype for me as a diehard Vegito fanboy. But like, as someone who's been like I've been falling in love with Vegeta more throughout Super. Looking back, I wish he did more in Goku Black Arc. I think he did very little.
I think the main issue with Goku Black Arc, at least in the early stages, was they didn't really assess what Black's power level was, because he shows up for that fight where he jumps through time, and he's able to keep up with Super Saiyan Goku, so they think that's really the extent of his power, and Vegeta's like, alright, I can probably handle this from here. But then they pull Super Saiyan Rose, and they have to recoup, figure out what they're doing at that point. And just because of how many times they have to zip forward and back through time and over to Universe 10, they didn't really have much of anything to do aside from watch and learn.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm not gonna talk too much about, like, the plot of the Goku Black Arc, because I could talk about that for hours.
Same here, honestly.
Yeah. But let's do a little flash forward to the Tournament of Power, because but you know, like, the main scene where he beats down Black and, like, shows he's a superior Saiyan before Black and Zamasu fuse, that was probably, like, just another good Vegeta moment, because it's Vegeta beating, like, a version of Goku. In, like actually fairly, too. There was no, like, apostrophe before, like in the Buu Saga when he was equal to Goku, but he had the Majin power-up, so it made it feel kind of weird. But, like, Goku Black, he straight up just destroyed. And I think that's, like, good that Vegeta fans got that bit to chew on.
Yeah, he was able to wreck Goku Black toward the ending there.
Oh, it was such a nice fight, too. Like, I've actually gone back before. It's a good one.
I mean, the whole way through, he did a good job of just kind of disrespecting Zamasu's ideal, where it's like he doesn't understand where real power comes from. And I think that given all that the Saiyans went through, you know, by all accounts, he was right in making a speech like that.
Yeah, he's good at those.
A little too good for his own good, though.
So there's the Tournament of Power arc, like the mini arc before the Tournament of Power, where Vegeta, like, refused to go to the tournament because his daughter was being born. I actually think that's kind of cool, because, like, we know Goku would have won, like, regardless, and Goku was dead when Goten was born, so he wasn't even there. But, like, Vegeta, I think Super does a lot with showing, like, downtime of the characters, and seeing Vegeta, like, you know, in, like, a polo button-up shirt and, like, khakis is really nice. Because it's he's usually wearing his unitard or leotard, whatever it's called, and like ready to fight. But when he's like, no, my wife's about to give birth any moment. I'm not gonna go to this tournament. I want to be here for her. I think that's pretty cool. So if that was like Cell Arc Vegeta, he'd be like, of course I'll go, and then he'll like go no problem and not care about her.
Yeah.
Oh, I just realized there was the entire vacation scene in the Battle of Gods anime where they're like on vacation. Yeah, that's just another example of like downtime for Vegeta. But now into the real meat and potatoes of the Tournament of Power. He did a lot in the Tournament of Power. I think Vegeta was a pretty big player for the Tournament of Power. He had a lot of cool scenes too. Like he just had so much to do for once in an arc. And it wasn't even like he had fights paired with Goku. Like him and Goku beat the danger. Like they just stomped Universe 9 in like 10 seconds. They even like reused the final Kamehameha animation as like a little like, oh, look how powerful they are. But I think a lot of Vegeta's solo fights without Goku in the tournament were really good.
I think so. Now, he was able to make it pretty much until the end. There was that one point where they almost fake us out and make us think he'll be knocked out by the bug from Universe 4. But, yeah, he had a few setbacks, but he still kept on pushing and made it pretty much till the end.
The bug bit was hilarious, because I think I've seen the character model of that scene get memed into oblivion.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, could you imagine how pissed people would be if they actually like unceremoniously knocked off Vegeta right there? Oh my god.
Well, that's the thing. That was actually how the episode promo made it look when they were advertising it. It straight up looked like Vegeta was gonna get knocked out by that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I think there would have been like a riot in the streets right there. But so when Vegeta got his new exclusive form, his Super Saiyan Blue Evolved or whatever it's called. I actually now, narratively, it didn't like get built up like Ultra Instinct did, but since the arc's theme was, trust and surpassing your limits, and that being the first unique form for Vegeta, in Super, I fell in love with that form, and I like that he kind of used it exclusively for the rest of the arc as well. Because it was like, I think there's a statement somewhere where they talk about it's like as strong as the Kaioken Blue, if not stronger. And that's something I really liked, but I really loved his fight with Topo in that form. That whole fight with Topo was just beautiful. He has this entire inner monologue about how he's fighting for Bulma and his daughter, and then he's fighting to bring back Kappa. And it's just like this nice fucking little motif while like Topo's attack is coming out and he does the final explosion and survives. It's just like I think that was like for a while that was probably like the peak of Vegeta right there. Until the Broly movie.
It was definitely one of his better scenes, just the fact that he already basically saw a Saiyan race get wiped out once. He didn't want to see it happen again, especially because the U6 Saiyans weren't exactly a threat to their universe.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the girls, but I like that Vegeta had a lot of dialogue with Kappa in the tournament. He was pretty much like, Kappa's like, oh, only one of us can win, but Vegeta's like, yeah, I'm gonna wish you back with my wish. And I think that's just such a, like, there's just so much growth for Vegeta that I think really goes overlooked for some reason. And I don't know why. I think it's because like a lot of people compare it to GT Vegeta for some reason, and I don't see the similarities very much. So
GT and Super have pretty much completely different stakes with what's going on, and they show the characters after significant time lapses. Because GT's supposed to be like 15 or something years after Kid Buu, whereas Super's only like, what, a year or two, maybe?
Who knows? The new movie, which I know people probably expect us to talk about the new movie trailer today, but there's not much to talk about, unfortunately.
There really isn't. It was more a teaser trailer than anything.
Yeah, right. I think the sacrifice he did for Goku against Jiren, where Vegeta's just getting his ass kicked by Jiren. Oh, that was actually like, there's a lot of beatdown scenes in Dragon Ball where like there's like the fights that gets to a point where it's one side and the character just getting destroyed. But that was like the one that I actually like had difficulty watching, not because it was like bad, but like you just felt how like tired and worn out like Vegeta was by the way they drew him and like the screen would shake with each one of Jiren's punches on him, and it was just like, oh god damn, like you just felt that on Vegeta, dude. Right, like his last bit of energy he sacrifices to Goku to move. As he falls into the ring, he has like a memory about Bulma. They just keep fighting. It's just this awesome fucking like whole sequence, just awesome as hell.
Oh yeah, they were all getting pretty destroyed by the end of that.
Oh yeah, for real. You know that. Well, after that, he does get knocked out. I think he's sitting on the sidelines just shit talk. I love that he's like shit talking Beldum or whatever his name is, the Juggalo god.
Yeah.
But how was he in that Broly movie? I think in the Broly movie I don't know what. How do you think he's in the Broly movie? I got a little tidbit, but I think it's more for when he fuses into Gogeta.
So he starts off kind of average, I guess. When Frieza finally does show up to Earth, he's like showboating, thinking Frieza's not going to do much of anything, and he's kind of surprised to see Broly's alive because he just wasn't expecting there to be another Saiyan in the universe. He is cocky like usual, but pretty much as soon as Broly gets a single hit on him, he realizes, okay, yeah, this guy is not normal, I'm going to have to fight seriously here. And he almost goes overboard. I think there's a part where Goku acknowledges, like, if Vegeta hits him hard enough with a God Form attack, it could basically kill Broly, and they don't want to do that just yet. But, well, it ended up not being enough anyway. So I guess he was right to try and use a full amount of his power.
I think Vegeta going Super Saiyan God was actually really cool. Like, we all knew he could do it, he had blue, but like, because it was just him styling on Broly, and a lot of people like it when Vegeta styles. That's like him. I think I heard somewhere like Vegeta at his best is when he's winning a fight, where Goku is at his best when he's like losing a fight. But I think for the rest of the movie, Vegeta kind of just stood there for a while Goku was fighting, and then when when Broly went Super Saiyan, Vegeta goes he goes blue, he goes to help Goku, and then there's the whole Gallic gun. Kamehameha, they throw out Broly, and then they pass Broly off to Frieza and go fuse.
Yeah, that was a good way to flip it on its head.
Yeah. Well, I really like the fusions. Vegeta and Gogeta, they're some of my favorite characters. But when the story requires them to be used, one thing that I've always noticed is, like, Vegeta tends to be... He's either like, no, I won't fuse, or he'll agree to fuse and then just be Goku's fusion partner with nothing else to do in that story. So I think he definitely did more than I was expecting in the movie, but after his initial like explosion of the fight, I think he was just the fusion partner for Goku by that point.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That's kind of the biggest problem that they have with the fusions, because when they first introduced it in the Buu saga, it was pretty clear that Goku was noticeably ahead of Vegeta, and in GT, they were only really on par with each other because Bulma had the machine to bring Vegeta up to Super Saiyan 4. Super, for as inconsistent as its power scaling can be, it's at least trying to make it seem like the two of them are about equal with each other, so it makes sense that they really do need to fuse.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, like so we're getting to my favorite part of Vegeta, and that's Moral Arc Vegeta. I think Moral Arc Vegeta is probably the most in-depth he's gotten. And I'm about to go on a little tangent here for it. Like, so Vegeta goes to Yardrat, right? I mean, they teach him about aligning his spirit, or like whatever, his body and mind, or whatever it is. I don't remember the exact line, and I'm not about to scroll through the manga, but he's training on Yardrat, and he's doing a lot of meditation, right? And what I like is when on the paneling, when Vegeta's meditating, you see that he's like visibly frustrated. He looks like he's he's got like the vein on his head. He looks annoyed that he has to sit here for like hours on end and meditate to learn this new technique. And it's like, it was so, I remember that kept me like hooked for so long too, because it was like, you know, Goku's usually the one where they do this big trendy sequence for an arc. And again, seeing it flip with Vegeta was just awesome. And he learns instant transmission real quick. But when he appears to fight Moro, dude, you know, he gives Goku the save, and he's as cocky as ever. He's like sure of himself, and he immediately just starts styling on Moro with this new technique that it was like aging him and removing the energy he stole from people and was eating. And like, holy cow, that whole sequence of events is just amazing to me.
Oh yeah, he gave Moro a real run for his money.
Yeah, well, the dialogue I liked most was when Moro told Vegeta, you know, he's like, you're still gonna go to hell when you die. He's like, you're still bound for hell. And I know a few people who found that like kind of edgy, but if you think about it technically, it is technically true. Like Vegeta, for most of Vegeta's life, he wasn't a good person. You know, like I'm willing to bet most of his life he was destroying planets, killing people, getting whatever he wants.
Definitely.
Yeah, because he was working with Frieza and everything too. And even, you know, his initial goal on Namek was to become the ruler of the universe, become immortal and destroy Frieza and all that shit. But I think like Vegeta responding with like, you know, he's like, oh, I know, but I've caused these people pain before. The least I could do is like save them now. Like it acknowledges, it doesn't correct that like wrong he did, but I definitely like that he like regrets his actions. He's not like proud of what he was. And that's like the for me personally, that was more memorable than like a decent chunk of the Moro arc, because it did get a little slow at points, but Vegeta was even used in the big save of the arc as well. Like his technique, his spirit fission, ended up being useful again right before the end, and was able to give Goku power to help win the fight, which was just awesome as hell.
Oh yeah.
But Granola arc. Now we're back here. We're back here again, and I wonder. So I've been thinking about the new God Destruction form. And I don't know, after initially reading it and we talked about it, what do you think of, you know, week later and all that, Vegeta's God of Destruction form? What is your initial take for this?
So, it definitely seemed as though they were trying to hype up that while Goku had attuned his Ultra Instinct, Vegeta couldn't really do that in the same capacity. That there was a point, like midway through the Tournament of Power, where he was just kind of getting wailed on by some of the fodder opponents in order to try and get that transformation himself, and it just wouldn't happen. So, just the level of involvement he's been having with Beerus, and the extent, like his general personality, and the extent to which that clashes with Goku's, they definitely wanted something else to happen with him, like another transformation that's different from what Goku would take. And I do think that the transformation is a good idea in theory. Obviously, the lack of eyebrows are still kind of a visual turnoff, and we're not really sure what the form's going to do per se, like what its capabilities are. But I think it's interesting that they don't really have the exact same evolution path anymore, because up until this point, the main characters have kind of always taken the same path. It's just that some of them couldn't do what the other one could do, if one of them was just so much stronger. I guess the only real exception is maybe like the Cell Saga, where they have different ways of mastering their original Super Saiyan form. But after that, it's pretty much, oh, it's level 2, level 3, level 4, God, Blue, and now they actually have a legitimate difference between them, which is going to be unique enough that whenever a certain fight occurs, they might actually have a tactical advantage one over the other based on what their opponent's gonna do.
Yeah, I think, like... So, okay, I'm gonna talk about Goku just for a little bit. But so Goku he was training with UI, right? And he
Yeah.
goes Super. He's using Ultra Instinct and Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, right? So my little theory is that they're gonna have UI stacked with Goku's forms. Like it's gonna become a passive on him, and then he just gets stronger with the forms he uses with the Silver Eyes. And for Vegeta, I think they might do the same with the God of Destruction. Because I doubt. So I was proven wrong. See, I thought Ultra Instinct was going to replace Super Saiyan Blue, but then they dropped that Goku was using Super Saiyan Blue with Ultra Instinct. He just lacks training. So will that happen with Vegeta, where his God form is now being powered up by this instinct, this God of Destruction power that Beerus taught him? I personally hope, just because I hate seeing forms get canned. Like, we don't see Super Saiyan 3 ever.
Right.
And that's something I've always disliked. So I wonder if there's going to be, like, Vegeta Blue evolved, but then he has, like, the God of Destruction eyes or something. Something like that. He's got, like, the God of Destruction aura still, and it's, like, the two comboed. Maybe. But I do like earlier with Vegeta's dialogue that he was kind of just being an asshole to Granola, and he even like tells him, he's like, "Look, I didn't do anything to your planet." And he's like, that was the other Saiyans and Frieza. He's like, I was a kid, and I like that Granola was like, Granola's acting like a total child towards him too. I think that's really funny because Vegeta's just egging him on. He's just fucking egging him on the entire way. He's being a fucking asshole to him. It is wonderful. But the thing that I mentioned last week from the chapter that's really intrigued me when Vegeta was talking about the strongest warriors. Because, he's like, the strongest, you can only be the strongest for so long. Now, we're not going to include, like, Beerus and Whis, because those are different characters. But for, like, the normal universe, who's the strongest universe has flip-flopped a lot, For a while, it was Frieza, then it was Goku, then it was, like, Cell, and then it was Gohan, stuff like that. Then it was Majin Buu, and then it was Vegito, and then it was Goku again. All that. And if you go into like GT, there's like Baby, then there's like Goku again, and Super 17 and all this. It constantly changes. And in Super, it even changed. Jiren was the strongest ever, but is he still stronger than Goku and Vegeta at this point? We don't know. I would safely say they're stronger than Tournament Power Jiren.
I could agree with that.
Yeah, and I would like to think that. So, at the timing of the Wish, Whis mentioned it during their training that the new strongest fighter just appeared out of nowhere, and Goku and Vegeta are all confused. So I like to think that this God of Destruction form right now has actually made Vegeta stronger than Granola because of the timing of the Wish. Will the plot acknowledge it? Maybe. Maybe they'll acknowledge it. Cause I don't think Granola's trained at all. Vegeta even says he's kind of a bad fighter. He's just really strong. That's, covering up his mistakes. Because, imagine if Frieza made that wish. I'm pretty sure Frieza would dominate Goku and Vegeta. He would just destroy them because he's not an idiot.
Yeah, he's made that mistake once before of letting them live while he tortures them.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, this next chapter, I really hope they continue with this Vegeta love, because there's been a lot of complaint that Super's like the Goku show, and people complain that Goku and Vegeta are like the main character or like the main focus for the rest of the cast, which is whatever. I'm not gonna get into that, but I've been liking that Vegeta has been focused more and more, and I'm super excited to see what happens next for once. Cause I remember there was times where people were like, Vegeta's so great, and I was like, I don't see it, but I've definitely been converted. I'm not like a diehard for Vegeta. I'm not gonna sit here and defend every aspect of the character, but I think reading through Super, looking back at Z, and then a majority of Super, it's made me appreciate this character a lot more than I ever could.
I'll agree with that. I can definitely understand why a lot of people have gotten sick of Vegeta over the years, just because overzealous fans can make any character look bad in comparison. But as it stands, I think that what Super's doing with him is moving the character in such a way that it's not like he's not a bad character by any stretch, and they're at least finding a thing for him to do, rather than constantly being leagues behind Goku.
Yeah, like, what's weird is I think Super's overall plot lines they've been standard for Dragon Ball, but I think the characterization, especially for Vegeta, and even, like, you know, other characters, 17, Gohan, Piccolo, in terms of power, and, like, even Goku to a small degree, has been better. I think it's just been making the characters seem more lively, and it's been, like, it's just been sticking in memory recently, and I think because people are so hard on Vegeta and Super. They're like, oh, he's learning the same arc over and over again. I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I actually think that's kind of false. Because he definitely, for a while, knew Goku was better than him. But once they started getting into this new realm of power, it's perfectly fine to get cocky again and challenge him. Because I think there's been a few times where Vegeta has surpassed Goku and Super. I think, what was it, ROF, they acknowledged that Vegeta was stronger than Goku, like, because he was training longer first. He had more training first.
Yes.
Yeah, that was ginormous, because in Z, Vegeta was only stronger than Goku maybe twice.
Yeah, it was really only beginning of the Saiyan saga when Vegeta was on Namek while Goku was still in space, and I guess when Goku was in the hyperbolic time chamber, he wasn't really present for that conflict.
Yeah. And what's wild too is, like, you know, when Goku got out of the time chamber, he straight up tells Vegeta, he's like, "Oh, you're way weaker than me." He's like, yeah, like the Kai cut of that, like the entire Kai cut, like when Goku says, "Oh, I wasn't suggesting I'm stronger than you," and like the music stops too, and he's just like, you know, it's like it was great, but you know, during that, he's basically just like constantly lagging behind Goku. And in the Buu arc, it's, you know, he gets the whole Majin power up to fight Goku, because Goku was still stronger than him, and I think that's kind of weird, because, like, Vegeta was training with, like, gravity and everything for the 7-year gap. He was lagging behind Goku in the other world. But in Super, it's flip-flopped a lot. There's, you know, there'll be times where Goku's way stronger than Vegeta, but then Vegeta will actually catch up. He's not just infinitely behind Goku now, and I think story-wise, I think that's more appealing, because you don't have the cliche of, like, back when it was just Super Saiyan 3, it's just like, oh, well, they're gonna fight, Goku's just gonna use Super Saiyan 3, clap him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and, like, Ultra Instinct, Goku would have an edge with Ultra Instinct, but he still hasn't trained it. And now with this new form, who knows what's gonna happen with Vegeta? I can't say again how excited I am to see this new form utilized. Excuse me, sorry. I was drinking a sip of water right there. I guess we can talk about GT and Vegeta a little bit, because I think I hit all the notes I wanted to hit.
I think that was a good summarization of his character in Super, yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to lag too much, because, like, I think we could have easily talked about ROF Vegeta for, like, another 20 minutes, but it's like, nah, no.
Yeah, it's debatable, but yeah, we could have... I don't know, the movie was polarizing to a lot of people, and I see why, but as it stands, I don't really think there was anything... Like, it was a good midpoint to transition into the rest of Super, but it wasn't, like, anything amazing or bad by its own merits.
Yeah, because I think the overall complaint for ROF was that Goku did kill Frieza, but Vegeta did not pull the full win. And a part of me still thinks, you know, Vegeta should have just killed Frieza. Yeah, it's cool that they gave Whis this time manipulation, but they could have just introduced that in the Zamasu arc when he kills Gowasu.
Probably.
You didn't need Frieza being able to destroy the planet with his palms. Like, you know, we already knew Frieza could destroy planets.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he pulled a fast one on Vegeta. Why couldn't we just have, like, I think they should have just let Vegeta and Blue beat Gold Frieza. And just have the fans who are like dedicated to Vegeta chew on that for a while, because besides his fight with Kappa, he just got fodderized in Universe 6 arc after his initial fights by Hit. He got destroyed by Hit. It was like, oh my god.
Yeah, Hit wrecked him.
Yeah. But Vegeta in GT is... I think it's a little interesting. So I haven't watched GT2 fully, but I think some of the best scenes with Vegeta in GT are definitely the downtime scenes. Like, when he shaves his mustache, right? And like Goten runs by him, and he's like, "Notice anything different, Goten?" He's like, "Nope," and runs away. And like Chi-Chi and Bulma are like picking on him about shaving his mustache. Hang on a second. I'll be right back.
I do remember about the mustache, one thing that always struck me as kind of funny is the community would sort of joke, say he was like an amateur Freddie Mercury stash. Yeah, no, it was not nearly cool enough to be Freddie Mercury. Sorry to say.
Right. Sorry, I had to answer a question from someone.
Nah, you're fine.
Thank you. But yeah, no, the whole reason like why he shaved the mustache, I think, was adorable, because it was like his daughter picking on him. And that's something that's so funny. You know, this dude, when we first meet him, is capable of pointing a planet out of existence. Like he could just like disintegrate anyone with a ki blast, right? You know, he's so monstrously strong. And you got these Earthling women, and then a hybrid daughter, just making fun of him because he was fishing for compliments with his mustache. They shaved him. He's like, "Oh, I look great, right?" One was like, "Sure." Or like, what was there? There was like the scene where like there's these guys heckling his daughter in a car, and he like drove by and ripped off their steering wheel.
Yep.
Like those scenes, I really liked with Vegeta, but overall, like in GT though, his role was incredibly small, and I think that's like something that never sat well with me for GT Vegeta, is that he had so little to do compared to Goku.
What was interesting about the first half of GT is I don't think he was originally planning on going into space with them. Like, originally, Gohan and Goten were gonna go too, but because Pan had to make things into a weird comedy style and pull the lever prematurely, they were stuck on Earth. But I'm pretty sure Vegeta, either he wasn't going to go with them originally, or he just didn't seem enthused about the whole process. And in either case, that's kind of strange because, you know, he is the one who actually explored space for a good chunk of his lifespan.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. Yeah, that is weird. I don't know. The first arc of GT is very forgettable for me. I'm not gonna talk like I know it. But I think, you know, so you know how, like, what's interesting with the Granola arc is Vegeta recognizes planets and stuff at times. Like when he's on the planet, he's going through the ruins of the cereal people.
Yes.
Kellogg. Yeah, the Kellogg's Fruit Loops people.
Exactly.
He like actually deduces who they are, and that's wow. Yeah, I never actually thought about how often he travels in space, because that just added a little more to his intelligence. Because, you know, Vegeta's never been a stupid character. He can add 2 to 2 and be like, oh yeah, that's 4. You know, and like Goku is like, ah, shit, 3. You know. I think. So I know someone mentioned this to me before. That Vegeta mentioned fusion to Goku and GT. It's like, okay, let's fuse, and they're like, oh, that's big growth for him because he wants to fuse. And it's like, yeah, I guess to a degree. Oh, that's pretty big. But if that's like the most impactful thing he has to say, that he's willing to fuse, I think, you know, it just kind of highlights to me how boring GT Vegeta was when it wasn't on the slice of life scenes. And like his like, I still can't stand how he got Super Saiyan 4 in GT. I will never like that he used the machine to get it, and in like the context of GT, Could he even go Super Saiyan 4 after the machine, or did he need the machine again? I don't...
No, it was... What had happened was he had burnt off a lot of his power while fighting Omega, so he just reverted back to base form, and he asked Bulma to use the machine again, but since Omega destroyed it, it was impossible to repair during the battle.
But he could go Super Saiyan 4, like, if he wanted to, though, right? Or did he need the assistance? Because, I just don't like him needing assistance to go Super Saiyan 4 to be on par with Goku, because Goku got a whole section of his tail being pulled out, and then calming the Great Ape, and, like, Vegeta calming the Golden Great Ape so easily was actually cool, because he's like, I mastered the Great Ape years ago, and, reverts into Super Saiyan 4, and that was cool, but it's just the whole machine, I think it's someone like, someone told me, they're like, oh, it's showing that he's willing to accept help, but I don't think he'd accept help to achieve, what was at the time the most powerful form of Saiyans, and what is basically like an evolution of his line. I think he would, like, train for it. It just never happened.
I mean, maybe in the aftermath of the Omega fight, but as far as I can recall, either he couldn't do it on his own during the ending of that fight, or he was just too burnt on energy, because for the rest of the climax, he only really goes Super Saiyan 1 or 2 at best.
Interesting. I do genuinely plan on trying to rewatch GT, because I mostly remember the negative bits about it, and I don't want to, I don't want to only remember the negatives of that show, but it's just like, I'm going to watch it on the Funimation app with English subtitles and original soundtrack, because the dub of GT was something I couldn't stand. I think, like, the voice acting wasn't bad, it was just, like, the script was kind of shitty, and the soundtrack was, like, this weird bass riff constantly.
The funny dub of GT suffered the same problem that a lot of mid-2000s anime dubs did, where they were sort of competent enough to know what they were doing and not make it a complete... They didn't make it like a PlayStation 1 anime game level voice acting, but they didn't know enough in order to keep it entirely faithful or to spend a large budget getting actual pros to do every voice. Sometimes they kind of cheaped out and used some annoying voices or reused assets from different properties.
Yeah, I think my opinion on GT Vegeta might change in the subs, because I'm not like a hard, I'm not a sub purist. I will watch sub or dub for any show, whatever's available. But for Dragon Ball, there are times where I feel like you might need to watch the subs to just see certain character interactions. So maybe that'll change my opinion of GT Vegeta. So I watched Super mostly in the sub, and then I rewatched it in the dub. And, like, dub Vegeta into Super was pretty spot on. It was sub to the sub as well, and that was really nice to see. I think the last problem that I actually would like to mention is as I said, like, earlier, people are hard on Super Vegeta, and I think that's because a lot of people still, like, romanticize Majin Vegeta being, like, his pinnacle character moment. And I don't know if that's, like, the correct thing to base Vegeta off of for Super, because, Majin Vegeta, like, he failed to kill Buu. Everything he did was, like, realization of, like, he's like, oh, I really fucked up here, and then he didn't kill Buu, right? I think if he killed Buu, Majin Vegeta probably would have been the best Vegeta, but I think a lot of people hold that up for the nostalgic scene of him doing the final explosion and saying his speech as, like, Vegeta at his best. But I don't know, I didn't hate it, but it didn't strike me as, like, the character's peak of his development.
Majin Vegeta has always been an interesting case for me, because I do think that there was a significant gap between when the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga were written. I forget how long exactly, but I think it actually was, like, about 7 years in real life. And so, if we recall at the end of the Cell Saga, he had gone into a fit of rage seeing Trunks die. He did apologize for causing Gohan to take the brunt of the blast, and he ultimately felt like there wasn't really anything else for him to do, just because Goku was dead and he didn't have his dominant rival anymore. Now, obviously he wasn't going to stay in that slump forever, but I think the idea of just going directly back to Majin Vegeta kind of seemed like a step backwards in that regard.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll go back and watch Majin Vegeta later, like the entire bits of Majin Vegeta, because I think he got the power up to be equal to Goku, or to be stronger than Goku, but because it's so ambiguous of how much the power up actually helped him, it could literally be like a +5 to strength meme, because they didn't really, but by that point numerical numbers of how strong the form was out the window. I think the only form to get like the last like just as an official boost is like Super Saiyan 3, and then like Vegito, Gotenks, and all that are just left with a vagueness that they're super strong and that's it. But the Majin thing, I don't know, I just didn't like Majin Vegeta very much, and I noticed a lot of people have a huge affinity for him, and I think it's mainly just due to his ending fight with Boo. Because his fight with Goku prior was all right. It's pretty fun. Like there's like an interesting scene where he tries to impale Goku on like a stalactite. But other than that, it was a lot of like just really big beam clashes and Vegeta talking about how he's jealous of Goku, and I think that was like the full brunt of it.
One thing I never really got, though, is I understand from an aesthetic viewpoint, or from an emotional viewpoint, that the Majin Vegeta fight does at least attempt to hold a lot of weight because of Vegeta's pride speeches, what it represents, and just in general how it shows that they are the strongest of the Z fighters at that point. But I don't know, it just didn't really carry as much weight for me as a lot of the other fights in the show, and aesthetically I think it was actually kind of weak because both of them, they're in their Super Saiyan state in a wasteland canyon area in the middle of the day, shooting primarily yellow energy attacks at each other. It all just blends together way too predominantly. Whereas, you think of their first fight, still a desert canyon area, but it was during the sunset. Goku was using primarily blue attacks, whereas Vegeta was using a lot of pink attacks. So it made them stand out a lot better.
Yeah, well, the first fight too had a lot more interest to it as well.
Yeah, the first fight, it felt like it had more flow and an actual back and forth, not just punching and kicking perpetually until somebody looks like they took a noticeable hit.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I think just some closing notes. I think Super Vegeta and Super Vegeta. That's a little joke right there. I think his portrayal in Super has been pretty solid. I think if you get down to it, it probably carries Super for a lot of people too, because Goku and Super we'll talk about another time. But Goku and Super, there's a few times where it just feels like Goku. It's just Goku being Goku. But Vegeta, I think, so far every arc has had something at least has had something to say and do that is important to him.
I can agree with that.
Right. But I'm thinking, so next time... Oh dear.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, next time we will have another discussion ready for you all. Thank you for tuning in.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap it up there.
I was about to do like a fake out outro.
Yeah, go for it. I actually have to go. I'm sorry about that.
That's fair.
Thanks for your time.
Of
I
course.
will see you.
Have a good night.
All right, peace, peace.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. For real this time. This has been General Blue. That was my assistant, King Cold. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. You'll see what we have to discuss next time. Everybody enjoy your weekend.